Welcome back. This is a part 2 of a 2-part series of Champion Solutions Group representing the Bigfix methodology for patch catch-up. If you have not seen the video for part 1, I urge you to go back and watch that before watching this one. In this episode, we're going to basically show you what the Bigfix environment looks like before we install the Champion solution, what it looks like afterwards, actually starting the process for patch catch-up, and seeing the results. So with that said, let's rock. We're going to start out by taking a look at our Bigfix console, and if you noticed here, I'm looking at operators. I have them sorted by LDAP and local accounts. What I'm trying to show you here is that there is no local account for the WinPatch user, which our solution will install, and we only have the original admin account. Furthermore, if we go down and take a look at our custom sites, we'll notice that we have some custom sites, but we don't have the Win Catch-Up site created yet. Our solution, again, will install this. So we're going to close that down, and we're going to take a look at the master action site, look at its fixlets. There are some fixlets in here, but nothing related to the Win Catch-Up site. So at this point, we're going to proceed and run our installation process. The installation process is quite easy. You want to be on the Bigfix server, unzip the Champion Solutions Group package, open up a DOS prompt, and basically run the install catchup.vbs. Depending on how you're using VBS in your environment, you'll either get a graphical view, as we see here, or it'll all happen on the command line if you're using C script. But as you note, it takes 3 parameters. It wants to know the username, the password of a master operator account, and the server of your Bigfix server. And then the installation process can actually work. So here I've relaunched the script, giving it the variables that it asked for, the master operator account, password, and server name. And as you can see, it is starting to create our content, creating our catch-up Win site. It's creating the fixlets to be imported into our custom site. It's going to start creating the fixlets that'll be added into the master operator action site as well, and creating the analysis and updating the privileges for the WinPatch user that we've created. Once it's done, you can read the README file or watch this video, and it'll show you how to action and turn on this methodology for catching up WinPatches with inside Bigfix. Here we're looking at the master action site, and if you notice, we do have some new fixlets that were added from the Champion Solutions Group solution. If we look over at our custom sites, we should see that we now have a catch-up site for Windows, and there it is. We can check it, make sure that all components are applicable. Going inside of this site, we're going to see the various fixlets and analysis that were added. We notice the computer subscriptions are set to ad hoc, which is exactly what we need. We also see that the new user, the WinPatch user, is the owner of this site, so this is so far set up as it's supposed to. And of course, looking up here in the operators, we can see that there is a new WinPatch-Up user. If we look at the Manage Properties, we can go down and find our custom property, CSG. We always use our CSG just to avoid naming collisions, but this is a global property that is also used to fuel and run our catch-up site. One of the first things we want to do is come up under the operators, and we're going to find our WinPatch account, which I have noticed by using the LDAP filter and searching for non-LDAP accounts. One of the first things we want to do is reset the password. So again, pick any password that you wish. I'm going to choose something simple because we are going to have to log on to this user so that we can kick off some of the processes. Again, one of the reasons we use a local account, in this case I just called it WinPatch for patching Windows systems, is simply that we don't want this actioned by the master operator. It's just better for performance of the system. And some of the permissions, he does not have to be a master operator. We don't want to do that. Whether he sees other actions or not really doesn't matter so much. We do need him to create actions, however. We don't care if the account can lock. We don't care if they can resend refreshes. We do want to have custom content. And for unmanaged assets, again, we don't really care. It doesn't make a difference for this. But we do want him to be able to restart machines. So those are the settings that we want to have. So again, change the password to this. And then before we log out of the master operator account, we are going to activate 2 of our systems here. Basically, the catch-up, increase the CPU, and the remove the unsubscribe the system and decrease the CPU. These 2 are our 2 gatekeepers here. So we do want to action them. We want to do it as a master operator. So I am logged in as a master operator. I am going to take action for this particular one. So first of all, we're going to do it by dynamically selecting all content. And best practices, I always like putting policy in front over here so people know it's running as a policy. We dynamically target by all computers. The execution, we're going to remove the ends on time, basically making this a policy. Then we can let this run like this, and we're going to click OK. That's going to kick that off. We're going to go back and do the same thing for the decrease of CPU. So one is to subscribe machines, and one is to unsubscribe machines. So again, take action. I am going to dynamically target all machines. For the execution, I'm going to remove the ends on, turning it into a policy. And again, just because I like to see this say policy up at the action side, I'm going to put policy in front of this, and I'm going to hit OK. So we've basically activated our fixlets from the master operator site. One of the other ones that we can do real quick, if we notice there's a win catch up here set to true, this will actually tag our machines and set the custom policy to true, forcing them into our catch up site. So just for the heck of it, just to show us working, I'm going to take a few of these machines and I am going to actually tag them into a true state, hit OK. We'll let those machines start getting themselves set to true, or to start, excuse me. The other one we notice is this champion catch-up set to true. And if we read this one, anybody that has it on a set to true, this is the ability to pull out a machine very quickly from the patch-up process if you did it by mistake. So you can target any machines that are currently set to the start. He will remove them from the catch-up site very quickly. So there's our two sets of systems. Now what I want to do is log out of the master operator, and then we're going to log back in as that Win patch user and kick off the fixlets for him to actually start the fixlets from the catch-up Win site. Now we want to log in as our new Win patch user into the console so that we can kick off the fixlets from the catch-up Win site as this user. And right away, if we notice, his content that he sees is fairly limited. We see the Bez support site. Every operator gets that. But for custom sites, all we see is the catch-up Win site. We really don't see anything else. But if we go into the catch-up Win site and the fixlets, we can see our custom fixlets, which we do want to take action on. So again, we want to dynamically target by all computers, since this operator can only see machines in this site. And again, we're going to put policy up at the top for our name. We're going to turn the end date off, making this into a Bigfix policy. And then we're going to repeat that process for the reboot a lot. The catch-up Win eval, we don't have to action. That's just a catch flag. But we're going to action the reboot a lot. If you notice, there's multiple things that this reboot process takes. The system has to be up for 10 minutes, making sure that he's running patches. The reboot timer has to be less than 5 minutes, the last time he rebooted. And he also has to be subscribed to the site for at least 15 minutes. This ensures that we have some stability for the endpoint in this site as he's running his patches. So let's go take action on him. And again, it's important that we are logged on as the Win patch user. We're going to dynamically select all targets. I like to put policy up in the name of the action. Again, just best practices. And then under the execution tab, we're simply going to turn off the end date, making this a policy under Bigfix and hitting OK. Now what I want to focus on is the analysis inside our catch-up Win site. And if we read the description, we notice that it has to be set for relevant patches, has to be 0 for it to be removed. We notice that we have that custom property of CSG Win site, how many fixlets are still relevant for the endpoint, how long has the endpoint's been up, how many times it's been rebooted, is it pending a reboot, and so forth, how many times has it been tried to kick out of this site so far. And lastly, the number of reboots this endpoint has gone through while being in the Win catch-up site. So if we notice, we did move some systems into the site previously from the master operator, so we can go look at the results. And here we can see how many fixlets are left to be done. At this point, there's 0, simply because we haven't added any fixlets or baseline to this site yet. But the nice part is it's showing that our analysis is working. Some of the machines, as we saw, just set to true, so he knows he's ready to be pulled out because there is no fixlets applicable for this machine. But as we scroll along here, we notice the subscription time, how long the endpoint's been inside of the site. we can really see all this information. So we can watch from our Win Catch-Up site how these endpoints are walking through the site, how many reboots they've gone through, when's the last time somebody had to try to be rebooted, and so forth. So all the information pertaining to the catch-up process is contained right here in our analysis for this site. So this is all part of the solution by Champion to be delivered. Now I paused part of this video and I created two baselines for this Win Catch-Up site. If you're not familiar with how to create a baseline, you can watch our other video for using the Bigfix Labs wizard for creating baselines. But I wanted to put two baselines in our Win Catch-Up site so we can show you how they're working. The baselines are activated, the fixlets have been added to this custom site, and of course if we search for Champion we'll find our original ones that the install process put in. But the fixlets, very important that they were copied to this site as we ran our baseline wizard, and now they're inside of the site. We have a few machines that are still subscribed to the site that need to have patch-ups going on. And again, if we go back to our analysis, we can see the progress these endpoints are making as they walk through our catch-up process site. I'm going to move the screen to get as much screen real estate as we can see. But again, how many fixlets are relevant? So if we notice there's quite a few for some of these endpoints, means they're not going to be kicked out until that reaches 0. We're looking at what is their setting. It's still obviously set to false because they still have relevant fixlets in this site to process through. We still get their subscription time, how long they've been in here. Again, this analysis set is giving you all the detailed information about the endpoints and how they're progressing through this catch-up process. We can see the last time they were rebooted. This machine is obviously rebooted once so far at this particular date. We can see what the status is of a reboot pending. These other machines are pending a reboot. And again, if they've been tried to be kicked out yet. So one of them hasn't made it out yet, but at least tried or checked to see if it should have. And of course, how many reboots. So the one box has at least rebooted at this point, which is 166, one of the patches required to reboot. So when we talk about the reboots, usually you would put that in a baseline. However, remember that we created a custom fixlet inside of our site here that would allow us to do these type of reboots, which we'll take a look at here in a second. But first, just realize that these machines are still pending the restart. The fixlets went out, the baseline pushed out, but those machines are still pending their restart. The reason we don't have to add the reboot into our baseline is because we have this custom reboot, if I can spell it right here and find it, this custom reboot fixlet that came as part of this Champion solution, which will reboot a machine a lot, basically. Reboot machines all the time once they're subscribed to this site. But there's a couple pieces here. They obviously have to be in the site, so that's true. The endpoint has to be up for at least 10 minutes. We do that so the endpoint has time between reboots to run some patches and install them. The reboot timer has to be less than 5 minutes, basically. And the last part here, it actually has to be subscribed to our site for more than 15 minutes. Again, giving the endpoint time and stability to run the patches that are required. And if you can notice, this custom fixlets, relevance, and actions are part of the Champion Solutions implementation when you install this process. And we can see these machines actually, the bottom one there actually has only one fixlet left. These machines are almost ready to be pulled out of the patch-up progress site. Pause the video, but if we take a look here, we can see that our actual policies have run where the systems were pulled out of the site. If we look, we can drill into these. We notice that the systems were fixed as they were pulled out. And looking into this patch-up site, no more computers are subscribed to the said site. So the process worked as expected.